If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your jiu-jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armand Fadi, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there were so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Cudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to RŌLAcademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. That ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content you have come to expect. There was a time not that long ago that a career in jiu-jitsu seemed like a fantasy for most people. This episode's guest has recently moved from the world of stock trading to working at an academy full-time. Edgar Figueroa joins us to discuss how he went from not even thinking a career in jiu-jitsu was a possibility to making a monumental shift in his life, making the most out of an opportunity to take the martial art he loves and using it to carve out a whole new career path. Here is the RŌL Radio with Adult Program Manager at RŌL Academy and first-degree black belt, Edgar Figueroa.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live. So I screwed that up right at the beginning.
Everything's changing, so.
Yeah, everything is changing. Yeah. So listen, if you are tuning in to this episode, there's few things, brand new things going on. We are changing the platform. We are changing the way how we are recording this. We've upgraded a bunch of the equipment. I guess this show is going places. In addition to awesome guests that we'll talk about in a moment, but I'm kind of nervous if we're gonna have to re-record this because of all this new stuff.
Well, take two of those is always better. Like I can already tell my camera's moving, but that's fine. Nobody looks at me anyway. No, who cares? You know what? Behind the scenes is always fun. Anytime I see a TV show and they do a behind the scenes type of thing, it's always a good time and it's enjoyable. So, what does it matter, right?
Well, but more importantly, I think it's good to acknowledge the simple fact that without people who listen to us, we wouldn't be able to do these cool things.
Yeah,
so,
thank you to you both.
No, there is more than two. There's more than two. But listen, we've had some cool guests this week. It is unique. I think I was actually reflecting on this a little bit, but this week is unique. We don't have local black belts often. We've been last 2 years or last year or so, we've been really focusing on reaching out to the jiu-jitsu community and getting different people from that we don't necessarily have the direct engagement with, right? Yeah. We've been going overseas a lot. We've been, definitely hunting some of the Dirty Dozen, which even last week was phenomenal. Bob Bass, but today we actually have a local, and that's very, very local, right? Edgar, first of all, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So what's unique about you, Edgar, is the fact one, you're very local because you are an instructor here at RŌL Academy, and you're like physically in the literally next room. So the local is has deeper meaning behind all of this. But such a unique story, right? And we'll get into a lot of this during this conversation. But my main reason why I asked you to be on the show and come in and share your story with everybody is because you were fortunate enough where you had a career change and now you can do jiu-jitsu for a living, and that's been going on for a couple months now, right?
Yes, but fortunate enough depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll dig into some of the details.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know you, for those who are not familiar with you, with who you are, what you've been doing, what you are doing, give us a very high level. Who is Edgar? Who are you? Where do you come from?
Well, name's Edgar Figueroa. I've been training jiu-jitsu since 2006. Got my black belt in 2018 from Professor Christian Uflacker. Been training here at RŌL Academy since 2019. Father of 3. I have a college-age daughter. I have a high school-age daughter, and then I have my sons in 7th grade, who all, at one point or another, have trained jiu-jitsu with me. Currently, 2 of them still do. The youngest 2 still do train jiu-jitsu here at RŌL Academy, and I'm married, happily married since 2005. And that's
we'll see what that remains. After this episode.
At least one of you are happy.
Listen, we went over the topics not to talk about. So
yeah, brief
I'm
story.
pretty sure we're gonna break them all.
Yeah, brief story. Saturday night, we were all hanging out together, and I stuck my foot in it about 3 times right off the bat at the beginning of the night with Edgar's wife about touchy subjects, and it's all the stuff we are going to talk about today.
Well, listen. When it comes to my wife, there are a lot of touchy subjects. So,
well, listen, with your lovely wife, you wouldn't be here. So it is what it is. It's important to acknowledge this. But before your jiu-jitsu started, you have, I think what's interesting about your story is that you, in the last few months, you have gone through a forklift change with not only your profession, but also with the lifestyle. And I think that's what makes it really, really, really interesting, right? So if we dig in, couple years back, what were you doing? What was your life like? And we'll transition to what you do now.
Since 2005, I've been working as a algorithmic trade operator, basically high frequency trading firm. I'm operating the algorithms that are doing the trading at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, various exchanges across the world. And so the best analogy I use is I was Homer Simpson sitting in front of the computer, just getting ready to hit the red button. Whenever things are going to blow up, I just hit the button, turn everything off. Obviously, I did more than that, but in a nutshell, that's the easiest analogy I can think of. The algorithms were doing all the trading, and I was there manning them. I had some input that I had to give. And so I've been doing that since 2005. The last 12 years, I've been doing that overnight during the European hours. So my shift has been some hybrid of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Is it your fault that my 401k is so terrible right now?
No, but I probably didn't help. But yeah, so
this is one of the topics we are not supposed to talk about.
No, this one's behind me, so we can talk about that all day. Yeah, so I've been doing that since 2000. I've been working nights since 2011 for the most part, which takes its toll on you. So like I'm getting ready to be 45 now. Excuse me, this
let's see your ear.
This earbud keeps on falling.
I've got a cauliflower ear.
And for the record, this ear came in after he changed his profession.
After training jiu-jitsu for in 17 years now, and I just started getting the cauliflower. I've been lucky enough to be fine up until just recently, and now like these earbuds the one doesn't fit anymore. It keeps on falling off.
Well, welcome to the dark side.
Can you attribute that to anybody in particular, or was it just out of the blue?
The list it's too long of a list. Anybody who's tried choking me. So yeah. But yeah, I've gone 17 years without getting it, and finally, just this last year, it really came into play. So it sucks. It's hideous. And my wife hates it. I hate it. It's disgusting. Even the kids in the kids class. What happened to your ear? Why does your ear look like that? And they all give me that look like, oh, like they're disgusted.
That's just one more thing you can add to the list.
No, I should ask if they're disgusted by the ear.
Just so everybody knows, I pick on Edgar all the time. If you know me, if I don't pick on you, that means I don't like you. So just throwing that out.
This episode is going to be interesting for many reasons. So going back to your career, would you say that your days of stock trading was the successful part of your life? Is that I mean, you've been at it for quite a few years at that point, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was good. It, made a living, paid the bills. It was lucrative. But I can't say I wasn't in love with what I was doing,
How come?
I don't know. That's a tough question. It was something that I did. It was my career, but I would spend all my time thinking about, jiu-jitsu or, things that I enjoyed more. Like I did it because it paid the bills, especially there at the end when I started that overnight shift really started to wear on me. And which is when you took advantage, you spotted the weakness and you started planting the seeds of like, why don't you teach jiu-jitsu full time? Which I never even thought was possible. I didn't even think that was even possible. So I just, I would get off of work in the morning. I would go to sleep. I would be awake when the kids would come home from school, and then we would come to jiu-jitsu and we would do our evening classes. At which point, when we were done, I would go home, drop them off, shower up, maybe eat dinner real quick, and then I would head off to work. And that was pretty much, that was the routine. And you would see me having to rush out of here to go to work, or I'd have to I couldn't stay for a portion of the class. I had to leave early or whatever it was. And little by little, you just started kind of planting that seed that, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. And I think once you started doing that, that's when things started to really unravel for me. Because when I started to think that there was something else I could be doing, it made me not dislike, but made me be less content with what I was doing.
And I think this is the interesting part behind all of this, because I do believe that a lot of people out there, they love jiu-jitsu, right? That's why we do it. And a lot of them actually have the thought of, it would be cool to do this for a living. At the same time, a large percentage of those individuals, they don't think it's possible. And I think you are a good example of changing the entire direction of your life, and not only yours, because let's be honest, decision of you leaving your job, and we'll get to that in a moment, but leaving your job and doing jiu-jitsu for a living, teaching full time, not only impacts you, but also impacts your family, right? I mean, that's a huge load that has to shift one the other direction, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. It was a decision that I didn't take lightly, but you're trying to weigh you want to keep your family's lifestyle where it's currently at, but at the same time, I wasn't happy. I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to do something. I don't think I've ever had a job that I really loved. I think that's most people. I think most people in society, I don't know what the percentage would be, but most people do a job that they tolerate because it pays the bills. Whether they hate it or not, they tolerate it because it pays the bills. And I've never done a job that I can say I truly loved. And so this will be the first time. Yeah, until now. But even though I'm finding out otherwise. So
no, we won't talk about that. Don't ruin this, okay? So walk us through this, right? So this thought and idea. I don't even remember the initial time. I guess let me ask you, do you remember the first initial time when this thought of the seed was planted? Do you remember the very first time when you and we not even talk about it, but when it just kind of initiated this whole thought of transition?
You would always make comments like, well, if you were teaching jiu-jitsu full time, you didn't have to do this, or you wouldn't have to leave right now, or you could stick around if you were teaching jiu-jitsu full time. And I
half
remember
of my students right now are rolling their eyes.
I'm having flashbacks.
And I paid no attention to it until I think one day, and I remember the week. It was during what we call our RŌL week, when all our contracts it's our busiest. So we went up putting in long hours. It's like a 2-week process where all our current futures contracts start to come to expiration, and we have to get ready to roll those positions to the next expiration date. And so we wind up putting in like 10 to 12 hours every day that week. And you caught me during one of those weeks where I was just super exhausted, super fed up. And I think you said something along those lines, like, you're teaching jiu-jitsu full time. Like, how's that even possible? I think that was my response. And you're like, let's sit down and talk. And when you said, let's sit down and talk, I was like, wait, you're not just joking. Like, you're just not saying stuff to be funny. Like, you're actually serious. And I think that's when it hit home. And that's like, okay. And I think shortly after that, we sat down, we talked, and just the fact that you were even talking to me about it is like, wow, you're serious. And then little by little, obviously,
so you played hard to get for like a year after that?
It wasn't hard. I almost fell out. I tried like for a year. You saw it for a year. I was doing the regular job, and I was teaching here part time. And I was, and again, I wake up. I get the kids would come home from school. I'd spend some time with them. I'd head over to jiu-jitsu, teach a class or two, go home, eat, shower, go to work, and it was the same thing every day. And the best part of my day was the jiu-jitsu. That wasn't the one that was paying the bills, but that was my best part of my day. And when we sat down and talked, and it came to rationalization that could be my whole day. Yeah, I felt like I'd be stupid not to listen. So here we are. You convinced me. You suckered me.
And here you are.
And now I'm 18 meetings a week. I spend more time in meetings than I do teaching jiu-jitsu.
That's not true. You painting it wrong. Gary, don't roll your eyes.
I sympathize. Listen, my day today, if you look at my calendar today, it's meeting.
Well,
yeah,
we'll talk about that part, because I think that's also an important part to acknowledge what really it takes behind the scenes, because a lot of people, like, at least I feel that way, that a lot of people, especially students who don't know what it takes to teach, they feel like we show up for 2 hours, we teach class until we hang out, we joke around, we go home, and life is good. And is that even close to truth?
No, not at all. No. Yeah. If you think you're just going to come and you're going to roll with your students and just have fun with them and then see them off and your day's done, there's a lot more to it, which I'm learning now.
Well, we'll get to that in a moment, because that's the other side of the job, right? Like running operational things and making sure the classes and students are successful and the academy is successful. But let's go back to your previous life and that conversion. But that's really intriguing to me, right? Because I have gone in myself. I've done this. I went through the transition, and I think part of that empathy for not enjoying the profession or the career, and then allowing or having the opportunity to make the conversion was so appealing. And I was really personally very excited to present the opportunity to somebody else, knowing what it feels like on the other side of the fence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Walk me through the mindset of, this is becoming real. Okay, like he actually like wants to talk about this. This is not just throwing words out in the wind. There's something tangible that is happening here. What is going through your mind? How are you justifying all this? How are you thinking about this?
It was tough. It was tough, especially when it got to the point where we actually started talking about numbers. And
I'm like, you're getting paid for this.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there, I'm sitting there, talking and thinking about these numbers and balancing my happiness with how is it going to affect the family. You have and then all the unknowns. What's that old saying? Is you're who are you better off with, the devil you know versus the devil you don't? And here, at least I currently knew what I was doing. Right? I was indifferent about my job. I hated the shift. I hated the hours. That was clear. I hated the hours, but I was indifferent about the actual job. I didn't think about that job when I left. When I left work, I left work. It stayed in the office. I didn't think about it on the weekends. I had a job like that versus now going to something new that was obviously, it was terrifying. It's like, what if this doesn't work out? I'm leaving something very steady for something that might not work out. On top of that, the numbers were different. The lifestyle change. There was going to have to be a lifestyle change, but I have to put value on my happiness, and that's where the internal battle came, was how much is my happiness worth to me versus how much is my happiness worth to my family, which I didn't seem like it was worth much to them. But to me, I was placing value. I do place value on my happiness, which is why I ultimately decided to jump ship and try this.
And you're back.
Oh, did you lose me?
Yeah, we lost you for a second. Yeah.
Oh, man. I might have to go over that whole speech again.
No, you don't, actually. Continue on, because the whole thing records in the back. So this is part of the cool stuff behind this new platform, that, even if there's a hiccup, we can continue that conversation. So go on, please.
No, so like I was saying, I was putting I replaced a lot of value in my happiness. I'm getting ready to be 45 this year. I don't know how much. I just lost my earbud.
There goes the earbud.
Yeah.
If you're not watching this on YouTube, you should be, because he's losing the earbud every 3 seconds. The ear is blowing up.
I could probably just leave it. It doesn't sound right hearing out of only one ear. But I place the value on my happiness. I'm going to be 45 this year. I don't know how many times I'm going to have an opportunity to actually do something I love. I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. To me, I always felt worst case scenario, this doesn't work out, I go back to doing or something similar to what I was doing, which I, would be indifferent about. The shift I would probably dislike, but I felt like I had to take this chance.
Well, good for you. I think, listen, in my mind, it takes a lot of balls to, one, change your career, two, change your lifestyle, right? Because one of the things that we didn't highlight here is the fact that you were working on night shift. Now that's no longer the case. Yeah. And a lot of people would look at this as, oh, great, now I can have no more hours. But you and I, we know there's a struggles behind that. Having the night shift for how many years? 12 years. So 12 years you work in the graveyard shift, essentially, right? And then one day this ends and you have quote unquote normal hours. But those normal hours are not normal to you. Having that transition that your body, your mind, and everything surrounding has to go through is not easy. And you and I, we talked about this many, many times, and that wasn't easy, was it?
It's still not. I don't feel like I'm still having adjustment to sleeping at night. I still wake up in the middle of the night. There are times during the day where I look at the clock. I'm like, I should be going to bed right now. I should be asleep right now. And that's I'm still making that adjustment right now. But I do hope that when I get back to normal, because again, we've only been at this
couple months, right?
All of July and all of August. Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah.
So I'm still making those adjustments, and I'm hoping that hoping once I get back to normal, I'm sleeping through the night, and I'm be like back to a normal person.
Good.
I can't tell you how much.
I don't know about that.
Well, I can't tell you how much I dreaded being at home with the family after running home from jiu-jitsu, and it'd be like I'd have to start work at 10, and it'd be like 8:45, and I know I have to leave at 9 o'clock, and they're all getting ready, for their bedtime routine, and I'm getting ready to go to work, and it was like the worst part of my day. Everybody else is going to bed, and I'm going to work, and then I come home and I go to bed, and they're off to school, and then sleeping through the day. That was a big pain too. So, anyways, all that's behind me now. Now I'm here, trying to live my best life, as the kids say, and I'm still adjusting.
Well, good for you. I mean, good. I mean, this is, listen, I think this is great. One, the trust that it takes to make a step like this is huge, in my opinion. But two, not only putting the trust into somebody, and first of all, I said this to you, but I suppose we should say it now. I do appreciate the fact that you entrusted us, the team and the company, to make that switch, because I can only imagine the stress level that that introduced on your family and your part, and I genuinely, I'm happy that we were able to make that impact on you, and you can, for the last 2 months you can benefit from that, and I'm hoping this is just the beginning. Don't screw up, okay?
Yeah. So we got 2 more months left.
Has he had his 60-day review?
Not yet. It's coming.
I'm going to get flying colors.
Let's go back to the beginning. And I think this is where the interesting part of the conversation comes in, right? So what year did you start? What year did you step on the mat for the first time?
August of 2006.
Do you remember the date? Do you remember like your first day on the mat?
Yeah. I went to, I convinced a buddy of mine a buddy from college to try out the Gracie Barra Academy in Countryside. I don't know how long it was in operational. Back then I searched up jiu-jitsu and that's what came up.
What was the point of interest? Why jiu-jitsu? Why not something else? Why not football or wrestling? Like what will engage you?
Well, me and my wife and I had our first kid in 2004. Second kid was due in December 2006. I kind of got fat, blew up during that period of time with the kids.
Yeah.
Got into what was it? I forgot the month, but I believe it was over the summer. One of my college buddies, had a birthday party. At the birthday party, wound up getting into a fight where I got my nose busted. I got beat up. And in that fight, obviously, whenever you get in a fight, you get beat up and you're like, oh, you're questioning your manhood and all that stuff, right? So went through that. So I decided, okay, I'm going to get back in shape. So I started taking a boxing class at a Fitness Formula, which was downtown near my work. And it ended up turning into more of like a cardio boxing class, right? So it was like me and 16 ladies in this class, which was a little humiliating, right? So I go to this class. I go to this class for the first time.
Same thing.
I go to this class for the first time. It's a Fitness Formula Club downtown, and I walk in and I see all these men grappling. They're all doing jiu-jitsu, and right off the bat, I'm like, oh, that's the stuff that I remember seeing from the UFC. That stuff looks cool. I remember Hoist Gracie, the first UFCs. So I'm watching these guys grapple. Their class finishes. They all leave. And then me and all the ladies walk on. And we start hitting the bag and playing patty cake with the bag. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I want to do what they're doing, So I finished out my class. I think it was like a 1 month or whatever, 2-week class, who knows. And I finished it. But every time class, I would be embarrassed to walk in because those guys, their class would be right before ours. So I was a little bit embarrassed, like, oh, I'm doing this. I should be doing this with you guys. So right away, when that finished, I found the closest jiu-jitsu gym because I didn't want to do the downtown one just because I didn't like the idea of I'm downtown all night and I didn't want to be there any longer than I had to. So I was looking for something closer to home. So I found the Gracie Barra. I convinced my friend to try it with me because I was nervous about trying it. We walk in. The first move, it was Professor Marcelo Sosa, who's now, I believe he's the head instructor at Gracie Barra Deerfield. He was the head instructor at that academy, and he showed us an arm bar from Mount, and I fell in love. I felt like I was learning a magic trick that no one else knew how to do, and I was getting like privy to like the behind the scenes magic, and I was locked that day. That first day, I was hooked, and I signed up that first day, which got into a whole nother slew of problems, which we can talk about. But yeah, like I was hooked right then and there. They gave me my first dose, and I was hooked, and I was a complete crackhead from after that point.
So what you're saying, your newly established addiction was not approved by the tower at home.
But by anybody, yeah. I mean, yeah. I came back home with a 3-year contract. Who signs a 3-year jiu-jitsu contract?
Oh,
I signed a 3-year jiu-jitsu contract.
Academy.
Yeah, I signed up a Bally's membership. That's what I basically got for 3 years, not knowing anything about how Jiu-Jitsu Academies run. So I signed up. I got a 3-year contract. I think I must have been like 3 months in when Professor Marcelo Sosa's gone. He's gone. And now it's passed on to Professor Christian Uflacker. Okay, I don't know any difference, right? Okay, Professor Uflacker, awesome. Things are great. I don't know how many more months, maybe another 3 or 4 months. Professor Uflacker's gone. I'm like, what the hell? Now the owner of the academy steps up. And I don't want to bash him too much because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been introduced to jiu-jitsu, right? But he goes from being like a purple belt to like a brown belt overnight. Now he's teaching the classes. Okay, so I'm learning from him. I could learn from anybody. I'm a white belt, not a big deal. And then all of a sudden, then he starts trying to bring in some legit instructors for us. He starts bringing in, Pedro Viena, rest in peace. He came in, he started teaching some classes. Then finally, Gracie Barra stepped in and started giving us a rotation of instructors. So Professor Philippe de la Monaco was awesome. If you follow him on Instagram, he was coming in. He would do like a 3-month rotation. He'd be here for 3 months. He'd leave. He'd go. Someone else would come in. So then finally we started getting some good, some awesome instructors. But again, had I known that there was a potential for these different, instructor issues, I probably wouldn't have signed a 3-year contract. And I was stuck, So like when everybody left, after Professor Uflacker left, and all the students went with him. I showed up to the class the next day. It was like me and 2 guys left. That's it. Yeah. Everybody was gone. I'm like, where's Tom? Where's Frank? Everybody's gone. And I was like, okay, so now what? And like, again, I'm locked into this contract. And this contract says, it's basically read like a Bally's membership contract. As long as you're within 100 miles or something like that, you're committed to the membership. So, stuff like that. I wish I would have redone that early on. I wouldn't have signed such a long contract.
But I think that brings a very good point in the conversation just about jiu-jitsu academies, right? Because a lot of academies do follow that model of agreements and contracts or commitment to a certain amount of time. And 3 years is extremely long time. Like it is, I don't know if anybody still does 3 years, but many academies do 1 year, with the thought of, we need that financial commitment in order for us to continue operating in those areas. Now you're talking about 3 years. Damn, 3 years, that's, mid blue level. What is Gary laughing at?
It's ridiculous. Coming from the office aspect of it and sales and stuff, I would not have taken the job in the office if I was offering somebody a 3-year contract.
Well,
like, nah, I can't.
And a lot of you guys don't know, but we, recently, not so recently anymore, but we remove our contracts at our academy. Like it's all month to month, and we believe in what we do, and we don't need you to commit because we really believe that you're going to be here, and we actually I was surprised the amount of success that we found behind it. God damn it, it's over 3 years, and then
what did Maribel say when you came home with a 3-year contract? Because I know what Margaret
said. I probably blacked out those memories. I probably took a verbal lashing and just blacked it out.
Yeah. You probably got beat up. You didn't know jiu-jitsu yet. It was the fight number. Maybe that was the real fight that you got in.
But yeah, it was a learning experience, and I think I made it through my first 3 years. It was still Gracie Barra. I was like, okay. So then my contract came up to expiration, and by that time we already had Professor Lemos, Carlos Lemos Jr. was already at the helm of that Gracie Barra countryside location. So things were going smoothly. Things were awesome. So then when it came time to renew my contract, obviously I didn't do a 3-year contract. And then from there, it was just a yearly contract. But yeah, that was a learning lesson. That was definitely a learning lesson.
So one of the things that I'm hearing from you is that in the first 3 years, you go through quite a large amount of instructors, and good, bad, it gives you diversity of different skills. It introduces you to different people. At the same time, the consistency of the instructor is not quite there. So now looking in a retrospect, you are teaching now, you're responsible for your students, you do this for a living. Do you think that consistency of the instructor is important to the student's success?
That's a tough one. I do, but I also do place value on getting different opinions. As we've talked about many times, you get 100 black belts in a room, you're going to learn 90 different arm bars or different variations, or some are going to put different emphasis on certain moves. Others are going to put emphasis on other moves. So like when we have this conversation all the time with the students, right? When you and I are the majority teaching the majority of the classes, right? And I always tell the students, I go, Professor Thomas is going to show a move one way, and he's going to highlight certain techniques or certain put emphasis on certain moves. I'm going to show a move, the same move, but I'm going to highlight different steps, stuff that works better with my body type or my mental capacity. Well, I'd say Professor Thomas is driving a Lamborghini. He likes to map out the
here we
road ahead of time. He wants to avoid all the potholes. I'm driving a
Is
Hummer.
that what happens in the class?
I drive through every single pothole possible. Okay, that's just the difference. So yeah, it's a different techniques, different. You get different opinions, different looks, and the students are going to realize that, and they're going to pick. Well, I kind of like the way Professor Thomas showed it. I like doing this. That's fine. More power to you.
They just like Lamborghini. That's all they do.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I think I do place value on getting the different looks, but I like that you have if they want to learn, they like my teaching style or the way the moves that I'm highlighting. They come to my classes, and I'm there consistently. I have a set schedule. They know when I'm teaching. If they like finer details, more intricate details, then they go to someone else's classes.
Well, but also, I think that's important for a lot of students to think about, right? Like the consistency of the schedule is one thing, meaning they know that you teach on these days and somebody else teaches on these days, and there is a set of instructors who have their own assigned classes, but at the same time, you don't learn the same thing, meaning we might talk about the same topic, but the emphasis of the approach, the mechanics, the flavors, the even some of the individual details that might be highlighted between instructor A and instructor B might completely vary. As a result of that, your perspective changes completely. So having your quote unquote favorite instructor or preferred instructor is one thing, but introducing the diversity of information that is being presented by different people is a value of itself, isn't it?
I do think so. Yes, I do. And in different body types as well. Like if we have, Professor John who teaches Nogi, he's a bigger guy. He's got different emphasis on a lot of pressure, and the guys love that. Guys love that top pressure that he's able to apply, and they love learning from that.
I don't know about you. I don't know one guy who loves top pressure from John.
I experienced
I don't like
it yesterday.
Being on the bottom of it, but
Shout out to John, but I do not like John on top.
But that's one of the values of them being able to get those different looks, those different points of view. Like again, the great thing about jiu-jitsu, right? There's a million different ways to get to the armbar. A million different routes we can take to get there. Everybody has their own preferred route, and to learn more than one is awesome.
Yeah, no, those are really important points. So you go through these 3 years of unquestionable commitments to the contract that you signed, then the directions continue, change, pivot for you. Obviously you go slightly different directions and life takes you in different directions and so on, but you continue training jiu-jitsu. And I think that's another interesting part behind your story is that no matter where life took you and obstacles, victories, conflicts, whatever life introduces in front of us, somehow you continue training jiu-jitsu to the point where, and I want to highlight this, to the point where jiu-jitsu becomes your profession at age of 45. And oftentimes students, particularly I think that happens somewhere around purple belt, when we gain enough knowledge, when we feel confident, in what we do, we are very curious, we're still hungry with the jiu-jitsu, we hunting the knowledge, we experiment, and the thought of, I would like to teach jiu-jitsu comes along quite a bit, but then somehow things happen in our life and, obviously other things take priority, and at times jiu-jitsu fades away. How did you avoid for that fadeaway to take place? Why did jiu-jitsu stuck around in your life so much, despite some of the challenges that you've talked about? And there's so much more that we didn't touch on yet.
I enjoyed it. It provided an outlet. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy it. I enjoy it now to this day. It provided an outlet that I needed. I grew up high school, grammar school playing sports. I love the camaraderie, that locker room activity with the group of guys, and jiu-jitsu gave me that. 5 different jobs over the course of my jiu-jitsu career, 5 different employers, 4 different academies, and I still continue to find a way to, 3 children or 2 children. I already had, 3 children, but 3 children during that I've had, and I've been able to continue finding a way to train jiu-jitsu. It is something
dig deeper into this, because I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I feel the same way. But like, we both know, being an instructor, we hear very often, oh, this happened, oh, that happened, or this, I have to, and there is this, some call this excuses, other call it, obstacles, whatever it is. But priorities in life shift, especially as we get old. And yet, you're one of the few. I mean, think about it. You are the 1%. Right? You are the 1% that not only stuck around, but also got to the rank of a black belt, but now you have the opportunity to teach. So what was the driving force behind it? It got to be something more than you just liked it.
In order for me to be the best father that I wanted to be, the best husband that I wanted to be, I had to be happy. And jiu-jitsu provided me that happiness. For jiu-jitsu was my outlet. I had to find ways to train jiu-jitsu to be happy so that I can be better with my kids and my family. And I wanted to set a good example for my kids in the sense that, some parents are working towards MBAs and others are working towards grad school or other stuff. And I'm over here, setting three-year contracts to learn how to choke other people in pajamas. But I'm going to continue with this and I'm going to be good at it. And that's what I was trying to show. And ever since I could, I would get and once I got my kids involved, then it became almost, it was no longer about me, which kind of relieved some of the pressure. Like I no longer felt like I was being selfish, taking my time away, because then that became our time together. Mm-hmm. Once I got my kids involved, now I was able to kill 2 birds with one stone. Right now I'm able to spend time with my kids and I'm still able to train. And it honestly became a lot easier once I got them involved, because then I would take them and we would spend, our Saturday mornings or whatever day, again, we were only able to come maybe 2 days a week or whatever, but whatever day we came, we would make a day of it, like they would do their classes. I would do my class. We'd be there for a good 2.5 hours, go home.
What's intriguing that what you said just now is the fact that this became a priority in your family's life, in the sense of there might be other things that could have trumped it, but no, you made a point to actually take your kids and be there and get them engaged and do this for an extensive period of time, not only for 3 months or 6 months. You're talking about, is this what they call a lifestyle, essentially? Like, this gets embedded so deep into the roots that, I don't know, I'm trying to be smart about this right now.
Well, at that point it was, at that point it was like, we train jiu-jitsu. That's what we do. Obviously I don't want to stop you from trying any other sports, but we have to find time to continue doing jiu-jitsu. There's so many benefits to the sport. It teaches kids a confidence. We've seen this, right? We've seen kids who come in to do jiu-jitsu and they're very standoffish about touching another kid. It's like they've never they didn't grow up play fighting or anything like that. And jiu-jitsu teaches you how to interact with other people, play hands-on with other people. Gives you that confidence to not to be so timid. You can put your hands on another person and play wrestle or whatever. It gives you, once they learn that they can actually do a move on another person, that confidence that they get from that's unbelievable. And then on top of all the physical health aspects, they're moving their bodies, they're learning good balance, they're learning leverage, they're learning self-defense. All that stuff obviously is huge as well. So to me, it was a no-brainer. We're going to do this together. We're going to do this as a family. We'll find time if you guys want to try any other sports, but we're going to do jiu-jitsu. We're going to find time to do jiu-jitsu. Regardless of what other sports we're doing, we're going to find time to do jiu-jitsu.
Well, I mean, good for you. I mean, your kids are killers. Then they're just starting. I mean, it's like, it's what a great engagement and family dynamic. I look, my kids are much younger than yours, and I look forward to, and I hope that I can follow those footsteps in the sense of my boys training jiu-jitsu in that sense, and us having that connection, as this continues growing. So go ahead.
I was going to say that, and that's where the phase I'm in right now, where I'm able to actually train with my daughter. And obviously there's a weight difference. She's 120 pounds. I'm 185 or whatever. There's a weight difference, but the fact that I'm actually able to train with her and she's trying to kill me, she's trying to beat me, that is awesome. That is awesome. And then my son is there as well.
I'm laughing, and I know Gary thinking the same thing. And Sophia is trying to kill you, like literally.
Yeah.
One of the best landed kicks I've ever seen was Sophia kicking Edgar in the side of the head. I'm waiting for those days with my kids, like us being on the mats together. They're still a little too young, but I just wanted to say yesterday when open mat was over, Nori, Edgar's son, called me out. And he was like, "Oh man, and we didn't get to roll together. I'll see you next time," you know. And it's cool. It's cool to see that family, or any family really, but you know, we're talking about Edgar's today. I know 20 years from now that they're going to look back and have all these amazing memories of their father, and that's going to carry over to, you know, we talked about legacy not that long ago. That's going to carry over to his grandkids, and so on and so forth. So it's great that you know, because some people don't bring their kids. They don't want their kids there. You know, this is their time. It's they're selfish about it.
And to each their own. But I think there's something unquestionably engaging behind that dynamic. Going through struggles together, having these conversations, troubleshooting things together, going, you know, figuring stuff out, or even, you know, the simple things. I don't feel like going today. Let's do it. Let's do it. Push it through it, because that's what life is all about. I mean, you know, so many times we feel, or at least from my perspective, I'm curious what you guys think about this, but like, I feel like, you know, today we have many opportunities to just sit and do nothing. And jiu-jitsu is one of those few activities which actually engages us, not only mentally, but also physically. And it forces us into these points of figuring stuff out and troubleshooting, not much different than what life will when they are older.
Now, I agree. Like, I didn't want my kids, like, I'm an adult, right? I could have an easy Saturday. I don't have to do anything if I don't want to. I can make my own decisions. If I want my kids to see, like, I actively choose to come to jiu-jitsu, and they come and they watch me spar, watch me get my butt kicked, watch me get put on uncomfortable positions, watch me, you know, try to stay calm, power through it, win or lose, watch how I handle it. And I think those lessons are invaluable. Like, I want my kids to see, like, I'm a black belt and I still get my butt kicked. I still get my butt kicked out there, and watch how I handle it. You know, I don't shy away from the tough matches. I go with whoever is available. I also know how to go with people smaller than me, go light, and be a good partner when it's about them and it's not about me. Like, there's so many different things that they can learn from that. And so, like, Saturday or Sunday, this past Sunday, when both my kids were at the open mat, and I'm watching, I'm trying to, out of the corner, first of all, I'm trying not to get choked by our guys, and I'm out of the corner of my eye trying to watch them in their matches, and I'm seeing them struggle. I'm seeing them get put on bottom. I'm seeing them, you know, getting close to tapping and then deciding, oh, can they continue? And the hands like this, and they're getting ready. Like, all that stuff is important. When to give up, when to, okay, call it quits. Let's survive and fight another day. How hard do I push? I'm constantly getting smashed, and I want them to see, like I actively choose this because that's going to make me a better person, not just a better jiu-jitsu guy. It's going to make me a better person. You know, the hardest part of my days, if getting smashed at jiu-jitsu, then everything else is going to seem easy. You know, now, I don't think getting another 200-pound man on top of you who's trying to choke the life out of you, the rest of your day is going to seem easy after that.
So do you think that mindset of what you're describing now, it carried you over continuously training jiu-jitsu? Or let me rephrase, not quitting or not departing or fading away from the jiu-jitsu? Is this, no matter what is happening, we are doing this because this is good. This has a long-term positive effect on our lives.
Yeah, I do. I think once we had that mentality that there's so many more benefits to this jiu-jitsu thing, not just that's, you know, let's get better at jiu-jitsu, but just in life. That's when it becomes a lifestyle, and that's when you go and train. You make it a priority to train so that you can become a better person, not just better at jiu-jitsu.
So is jiu-jitsu your lifestyle at this point?
Well, definitely now. Yeah, definitely. pays the bills. But even prior to
Just
that,
checking.
it was even prior to it becoming a full-time job. It was my lifestyle. We had our days that we would come train. We would come train together. If they couldn't make it, I would come by myself because it was what I needed to make me complete.
Have you, during the time when, prior to your black belt and the color rankings, have you ever thought about teaching professionally or even just teaching in general, being a leader?
So when I first came to RŌL, everybody asked me about that. Like, oh, you're a black belt. How come you just open your own school? And I was like, nah, it didn't seem for me. And I'll be honest, when watching you navigate through COVID was kind of like, that's definitely not for me. Definitely not for me. As a business owner, like you.
Why? What was so turning you off at that point?
Trying to manage the personalities, running the business when things seem out of your control, out of your control. Like things are out of your control. Like you can't even come in here to provide the service that people are paying for. And I'm like, that was eye opening. You're like, oh, I don't know how you did it, but I was like, wow, that is why I don't want to open an academy. Like that would be, to me, would be like the thought of, I run a jiu-jitsu academy, yet my doors are closed and I can't teach jiu-jitsu. So how does that work? And then having to navigate all the different personalities and memberships and all that different stuff, it's just too stressful. That was too stressful to even think about.
I'm not saying it wasn't stressful, but we put Gary in front of Zoom camera and everything is a history. It just worked out well.
We've been doing this podcast for a long time, and it's come up on multiple occasions of how you deal with what you can control. Right? Your reaction to things is the only thing that you can control.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit and everybody was shutting down, we reacted differently than a great number of academies, and it wasn't the government sucks or this is BS and we're screwed. It was, what can we still offer?
Yeah.
How much can we offer? When can we offer? What are our limitations? What can we do safely? And we just kept rolling things out until the point where it was like, hey, we're open again, and we never stopped. And it's because of how you reacted to things, right? Which showed the rest of us how to react and what paths we could take. I was terrified. Like, you were like, do you think you could teach classes from home? And I was like, nah, my house is a dump. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want cameras in my house seeing how I live. I was like, well, why don't we, I'm going to be the only one there. I can go to the academy, right? We're not breaking any laws if I go to the academy. Yeah. So I was like, I'll just do it from the academy. And it was like, there's 22 kids in this Zoom meeting. This is amazing.
Legit, there was a video of, I actually have it somewhere. Well, I think I do.
What?
Video of you dancing with the dummy.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't remember. Yeah. Listen, did the kids love it or did they not?
That's what I'm saying. The sacrifices that we make,
And watching you guys, that was inspirational. Watching you guys try to navigate this as best as you could, play the cards that you're dealt, and not just fold and, like you said, bitch and whine and complain and just.
It was pick up the phone, call every member, adults, parents, call them all, see how they feel. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. And it would have been so much easier to not do any of it. Right.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be here right now. I mean, in any capacity.
Well, but again, I think this brings up these interesting points of conversation. Is like, how agile are you, or how can you adapt to the situation that's completely out of your control? And I remember, like, we're not here to talk about COVID, but I think it brings an interesting point of, dialogue. Is I remember listening to Jocko right around that time, and he goes, our gi sales for Origin went down by 95% or something ridiculous like this, which just that alone tells you that they are not selling anything. So what did they do? They get military contracts to make masks. And just that thought right there, to create the diversity and change the direction of the entire company for the survival purposes is key. Now, I personally know many business owners who are like, this sucks. I'm not, giving up to the government and all the other stuff. And then 2 months later, they're all out of business. it's over, it's closed, and and they continue bitching 2 years later. It is what it is. The point is, we can't control these situations, and oftentimes these conversations came up in the last 2 years. I kept saying is like, this is just like jiu-jitsu. You can't control everything. What you can control is how you adapt to the situation. And I think we were fortunate enough where we had a good team. We were all on the same page, and we were able to what?
Nothing. I'll never forget. You called me and Ray in shortly after. I was like on a Saturday at 1:00 in the afternoon, and Ray's texting me, "We're going to lose our jobs." And I was like, "You don't know that. Let's settle down. Maybe. Let's go. And
Did you?
No, it was no. The first words out of your mouth were, "You guys aren't going to lose your jobs." It was so funny. But then it was like, but we have to work to make sure that you can keep them.
Right. And what did I say? I'm going to ask you things to do, things you don't want to do. I'm going to ask you to do things that you might not know how to do. We still got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, and again, this goes into this being agile in life. And I think this goes beyond COVID or any, nonsense or serious stuff we encounter in lives. And this is what's intriguing about you, Edgar, is that no matter what, the 5 jobs you had and 4 academies that you had, none of that stopped you from training jiu-jitsu. See, that passion was embedded so much earlier than that, and this curiosity for jiu-jitsu, for the art, for the sport, and then you engage in your family, right? And all this just builds the character. And I think that's what's so phenomenal about your story, right? And then at one point, you get your black belt. Did you see that comment?
No, that was unexpected. That was like a middle of the week class. It was like a Thursday night. I think it was regular class. And then I got at the end of the class.
So, did you think that you earned that rank before you got it?
I don't think anybody feels like they earned that rank.
Yeah.
But I think if we entrust our professors, we trust them to teach us jiu-jitsu. We trust them to guide us through this journey. Then we have to trust their decision that they feel we're ready. And it's up to us to try to live up to those expectations, which is, I think I said something similar in my speech. Like, I don't feel like I'm ready for this, but you obviously see something in me that I don't right now. And my job is I'm going to try to live up to it.
So let me ask you the opposite side of this whole thing. How come so many students, and I've encountered this in person, so many students tell me, just say in general, I don't deserve this. I don't earn this. I'm not at that level. But it's kind of an interesting topic to discuss, is like, how can you know you're at the level if you've never been at that level? So it's like the chicken that came before the egg kind of sort of, you know what I mean? Is like, what are your thoughts on this? What do you tell students who say, I don't deserve this. I'm not a blue belt yet. I'm not a purple belt. Don't give me that brown belt.
I think that's it. We have to. Your professor sees something in you, whether you see it or not. They see something in you. They feel you're deserving of that belt. For you to question that, everybody does, but you have to have faith in your professor that they have been doing this long enough, that they've seen, they've witnessed different people's journeys, that they know what they're doing. And that's the way I felt. I didn't feel like I was ready. I didn't feel like I was a black belt. I'm still a brown belt struggling to tap out purples, and I got my black, and I trusted Professor Uflacker when he's making this decision to give me my black belt, that he sees something in me. And again, maybe it's just me being too humble or whatever it is, but he saw something in me, and it's up to me to try to live up to that. And I think that's our response to the students. You might not feel like you deserve this. Again, I'm not sure, aside from you going to like the worlds and winning the worlds and like, oh, now I'm a purple belt or now I'm a blue belt, whatever, I just won this championship. That hardly happens for anybody. That hardly happens for anybody. So I think you have to just trust that your professor has your best interests, that they know what they're talking about when they award you that belt, and it's up to you to get motivated and live up to those expectations. that's your motivation.
So many people at that point, and I'm referring to the black belt level. Unfortunately, this is unfortunate part of this jiu-jitsu community and jiu-jitsu engagement here. That many look at the black belt and then some of them stop training. That we hunt that black belt. We really drive for it. I think there is not one person who trains jiu-jitsu who doesn't want to get to that level. But yet, some fade away. Some use that actually as a reasoning or a point in their life, as a pivot point to, stop, to pause, and obviously at that point it ends for some. Not all of them, some. But again, it didn't stop you. It continued. And actually, as much as I know you, I think it appears to me that you had more drive after the black belt than you had before. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I see like the new doors, new opportunities have presented themselves right around that time. Why did that continue for you?
What's that saying that, the journey doesn't start till you get a black belt? Like, I don't know about that. Because I had, 15 years before that, however long, 13 years it took me to get my black belt, whatever it was. So the journey had already started, but getting that black belt, the journey changes. You have this, I want to say like a target on your back, right? Everybody thinks you're the gold standard for a black belt, or what they think a black belt should be. And then
we are doomed then.
Right. Well, then you're going out in these sparring sessions, and everybody's expecting you to know how to invert and berimbolo and all the latest YouTube techniques. And how come you don't know worm guard, and how come you don't know this? And it's like, I'm still a student, just like you. I'm still learning. I am still learning, and having the black belt just changed the journey a little bit. So the journey was the same, but you do get motivated extra more because you feel like you have to live up to something. You do have a target on your back, and this every time you're going to a sparring session, someone's got something to prove against you, or they want to test themselves out against you. So you do put extra pressure on yourself. But yeah, I think that's probably what motivates me now. And now I'm at that point where, as you're getting older and you're having to I'm going against 22-year-olds, all the guys in the room, the 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds. And you're like, okay, I got the knowledge. And now my body's like, yeah, but you can't do anything with it because your body's broken. And you're like, oh, I'm trying to balance that off. And I have to reinvent my game. And you're trying to, play more old man jiu-jitsu because you can't do the cartwheel passes that you used to do back in the day. And you can't invert anymore because your lower back's about to blow out. And so it's a whole new set of challenges. And I guess that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to, it's another puzzle piece. Jiu-jitsu is just a big puzzle, a big chess, a game. It's another puzzle piece to try to figure out. I'm trying to figure out where does my game go from here? How does it evolve? And yeah, I think the journey continues. It just changes. So,
is that because you didn't have the black belt as your ultimate goal?
Yeah, I never thought of. I mean, the black belt was always going to be nice, but I like this. What
right.
Whatever the stripes came or the belts came, it was I just liked doing what we were doing. I think of it as acquiring knowledge. Every time you learn something, it's another book to put on your bookshelf, and you're just acquiring more and more books. At the end of the day, I didn't care if I had 10 bookshelves, 11 bookshelves, 12. I just liked learning more. And then you start to get old, in Gary's instance, trying to remember the moves that you learned. That's a whole different problem, right?
I was waiting for some stabs. There it is. There is true Edgar.
Yeah.
Well,
and Gary has no answer. Look, it's going to be the first time that Gary has no answer.
I just joking around yesterday. I was sitting on the floor with the dog, and I got up, and I looked over at Margaret and I was like, how many 53-year-old men do you know that could get up like that? She just, of course she rolls her eyes, but I'm doing a technical stand up in the living room. And, the only reason I'm saying that is because I have a lot of friends who I grew up with that don't do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That can't.
That's the sad part.
My older brother, and luckily for him, he made the decision to switch and start taking care of himself. But he was telling me how he couldn't get up off the living room floor without assistance. And he wasn't huge. He wasn't that, he didn't outwardly look that out of shape. But yeah, it's a big deal. And I think so, keep that in mind too. Everybody who's getting a little bit older, like Edgar, that journey continues. I love the way you always say it's like a puzzle, because it is. It's like, okay, if I can't, what do I need to do? Where do I find this piece that fits in there? And it's okay. Well, then I need to do something more at home, or I need to get in a little bit early, or stay a little bit late, or whatever it takes. So yeah, I'm old as fuck, but whatever. I'll get through it.
Well,
I think Edgar's kids are going to listen to this one.
If you have never seen me get up out of the mat, or I'm pretty sure you've heard me grunt once in a while. But the thing is, I might complain, I might grunt, my body might make all these noises. Yeah. I still do it. I still do it, and I still can do it.
Gary and I, we were talking about this the other day, because I think you were teaching tag fit, and the amount of sounds and noises that you make is quite impressive, actually.
There's a lot of
yeah. But the point is that you keep doing it, and you keep adding, and I think that is really, again, like I keep bringing this up, but this almost stubbornness, in a sense, of continue doing what you love is so impressive to me. And this is why I love the fact that you have entrusted us, and you are part of the team, and you continue doing this. Listen, so you get your black belt. Are any thoughts crossing your mind about teaching at that point?
No.
At which point are you thinking about teaching?
Until you started poking me about it. Not till you started poking me about it. I was content just coming and doing classes, and then you started poking me about teaching, and I think you tricked me into 1 class a week, and then from 1 it became 6.
I didn't trick you. Why does it have to be
all the way up to 28? Now I'm doing 28 classes a week. From 1 to 6 to 28.
Yep. Want to help with kids' classes?
Yeah.
You're going to quit your job.
And that one I walked into the kids' classes because I was bringing my kid. And so I would bring my youngest son, Nori, to his classes, and he would do the class, and I would sit here. And I felt kind of like bad just sitting here. Like it was just like I enjoyed watching him, but I felt like I didn't want to watch. I wanted to be a part of it with him, right? And I saw that you guys like, okay, hey Gary, how about I just hop on the mat and I'll just like kind of like help you guys corral kids and stuff like that, And then little by little from there, it's kind of like open the door to like me like being the Uki, and then me teaching, and then
it's great. No, I don't have any kids classes anymore.
It's all part of the.
Yeah. Should have seen me that first day when he offered Thomas. I don't have to teach kids classes.
But I do remember to this day. I do remember us having a conversation, and I asked you if you want to teach, and you were like, "No, I want to be responsible for my own jiu-jitsu, nobody else's." And that was literally your answer.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And Gary was nearby, and I looked at Gary. Gary rolled his eyes, and I was like, just give it time. Give it time. He'll come around.
It's stressful to think about, are these guys getting the most, am I doing what's best for them? Are they getting the most from me? At that point, I just wanted to focus on my own jiu-jitsu. Like, am I learning what I need to be learning? Do I, whatever the case was. It was stressful to be thinking that I was going to be in charge of other people's jiu-jitsu journey and guide them down the wrong path or the dark side or whatever, we're just doing wrist locks all day or whatever the case is,
So do you still feel that way?
Who's asking? Thomas the podcaster or Thomas the employer?
We're on the podcast. Now your 60-day review is not here yet. So
I think it was just one of yes, it still does. It does stress me out a little bit, but it's a good thing. It just shows that I care. I want to give the best possible to the students. I want them to learn, best techniques. I just want to give them the best jiu-jitsu possible. And when you put that type of pressure on yourself, it gets stressful. But I think in the beginning, my initial reaction was like, I don't even want to think about that. I just want to focus on myself. But once I'm already here, I'm in that coaching mode. I'm the professor of the class. I do have some of that stress still, but it's only because I do want the guys to have the best experience possible.
So now, 2 months after that transition, a life-changing event, right? You flipped your life upside down. You impacted your entire family. You're doing something that you love. Pretty clear about this. Any regrets?
No, not yet. I mean, you haven't. No, not yet.
So here's the pivot question. If you had to go back a year, and during that time when you were questioning all of this, during the time where a lot of these anxiety points were in your mind and you're not sure if this is a good decision, would you still go the same direction, questioning yourself? Or would you do something different?
I would have done what you told me to do when in one of our conversations when we were already knee deep in it, where your advice to me was, again, your advice to me was, why wait for a tragedy to happen, a catastrophe or tragedy to happen to jump ship? Why not plan for it right now? Because my responses to you initially were like, I'll just continue doing what I'm doing, and if things ever go south, the company goes under or I get fired, then I'll start doing this. And you're like, well, why wait till something bad happens? I would have started planning then. And when I mean planning, I mean I would have started saving financially. I would have started setting aside all the resources I need. I would have started the lifestyle change then, so that when I finally did, make this jump, it wouldn't have been such a, and not that it has been, but it wouldn't have been, it would have been more comfortable. It would have been more comfortable. Let's just say that.
And for those who don't understand what you are saying is essentially a simple fact that with oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes with a career change, there comes an impact financially, right? Because you have been an expert in your area for 12 years, right? That you've gained an expertise of 12 years in stock trading. Now you're changing the career. It does not mean that the compensation will be equal. It does not mean that benefits will be equal. There are some benefits, but we both know that engaging in a full-time instructor, also there are some, things that are not so rosy and, rainbows. Like, I mean, it's a job afterwards, right? I mean,
Yeah.
many people think that we show up for a couple days, a couple hours a day, and we just teach and we do nothing. And it's far from that, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely far from that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember I had my little pros and cons list for each, right? And those, it was, obviously, so there was a pay cut. There was a difference in benefits, but I was going to a normal schedule versus the nighttime shift. But now this normal schedule it's in terms of, it allows me to be at home at night and have a normal sleep schedule, but still not normal in the sense that we cater to our membership, right? So we have classes during the day, we have some downtime, then we have classes that start back up in the evening. So you got like a little bit of a hybrid schedule there, where it's not just like 8-9 hours straight. I went from a job where I was sitting down all day in front of a computer to now I'm pretty active. I'm on my feet all day. So then you're dealing with that. And that one is something I didn't even anticipate, how much going from a sedated, sitting down all day job to being on my feet, how much I was pretty physically tired, that was, and I didn't even take that into consideration when I was doing my pros and cons list. So there's differences. But again, it's how much did I value my happiness? And so at the end of the day, that's what made the decision for me.
So I think like the main reason why I asked to share your story is because I think one is inspiring to make change like this, but two, there are many other people out there, many other individuals out there who perhaps might be in situations like this, but they might go in the opposite direction because of the concerns, because of the anxiety, because of the lifestyle change that is required to do something like this, whether full-time or part-time. What would be the one thing that you would highlight to an individual like this who is inspiring to teach jiu-jitsu, share, be part of the martial arts business, or, kind of dipping their toes into this?
Do you want to live your life and wonder what could have been, or do you want to just take that chance? And that's where I was at. I'll just take the chance. if it doesn't, if this thing blows up and I don't succeed at this and I fail, or you fire me and I go back to doing something similar to what I was doing, then so be it, right? But I don't know unless I try, and I didn't, and I'm not, again, if I wait till I'm comfortable, when will that be? When I'm gonna open up a jiu-jitsu academy at 65 years old and teach jiu-jitsu and then get mollywopped by all the 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds in the class? No. So
That's
like
scary.
so when like try now or never. Try now or never. Like time is against me. That's the way I feel. Time is against me. I'm getting older. And at the end of the day, guys want to learn. I got to be careful with how I say this, but like if opening a school and teaching jiu-jitsu at the age of 55, 56, 60 or whatever, and hopefully I still feel good and all that stuff. But that didn't seem and like I didn't know if that's not something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be just starting a school at that age and then having to teach, these white belts come in and who knows if I'm able to even hang with them or what.
Mm-hmm.
Better now than never. Let's try it now.
Good for you.
Let's dip our feet in now, see how it goes. And like I said, worst case scenario, I go back to doing what I was doing.
I don't think that's going to happen, but I think you're in it for a long haul. That's just me. That's what I think. I don't know what Gary thinks. He's been quiet during this episode.
You know what I think. You know what I think. And Edgar knows it too. And every time I tell him, he says I must be drinking or something.
Wait, what?
Every time I pay him a compliment, he's like, "What, you drinking? You've been drinking?"
Yeah, the compliments all come at like 8:00 at night on a Saturday. Like,
No,
what? This is weird.
I gave you one yesterday. Like
They all misspelled. And,
4 in the afternoon. Yeah, 6 modelos deep. Yeah.
Well, listen, I really truly believe that, things happen for a reason in life. And it's great that you allowed yourself and your family to have this opportunity. And you're right. I mean, time will tell. But I do have a good feeling about all this. As we are kind of coming to the end of this conversation,
I'll be right back. You didn't get my message?
No.
My question's in the other office.
Oh.
So you guys keep talking.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a fail. All right, but Gary's going to bring the question for you that we have from our previous guest, which was Bob Bass, one of the 30 Dozen. So it's going to be interesting. So what would you establish for yourself as a next goal, as an instructor, as somebody who wants to continue growing? And it's pretty clear to me you want to grow. You've made several analogies throughout this conversation about acquiring knowledge, getting better, growing, being inspired, and not falling into the plateau, quote unquote, of life. What is in your mind the next stage?
Continue growing our current membership, right? Want to grow that. Grow our current population, create the need for I'm not looking to like be an instructor that, I'm doing seminars, I'm traveling the world or anything like that, right? I want to just provide the best jiu-jitsu to my local students as possible, so grow the current membership, make there a need for a second location, get that second location up and running, and continue from there, and if there's always a part of me that envisions, and this is probably a dream of mine, but envisions, me teaching with my kids, having my kids still be a part of it, running a jiu-jitsu academy with me and my kids as a part of it, making it a family business. I mean, I think that would be, again, that's more my dream than theirs, but I think that would be awesome if we could accomplish that.
I think you would be surprised. I think it's somewhere in the back of their mind, even though video games might be their highest priority at this point of time. I think they do enjoy being on the mats and sharing the mats with you, at least from the conversations that I've had with them. They're quite outspoken about their dad. It's hard to ignore that.
When I mentioned it to them, and you should see, I think I mentioned it the other day again. I said, I'll teach the adults. Nori, you can I think I said, Sophia, you can run a women's program, and Nori, you and me can teach adults. And Sophia rolled her eyes. It's like, Nori's gonna teach the kids. I'm gonna teach the adults. Something like that. I'm like, but just the fact that she didn't shoot it down, the fact that she was like, oh, I'm like, okay, all right, maybe we got something. Who knows?
Yeah. I think that's the cool part, And again, I'm in that sense, I'm looking up to you. I mean, in that sense, again, my kids are much younger than you, so don't screw it up because I'm following your lead. Okay, that's what I'm saying. All right, Gary's back.
I am.
We have a question, and Gary's going to take a lead on this. But in case you're not familiar, our previous guest asked a question, not knowing who's going to answer the question. So kind of think about it as a question in blind, and well, let's see where this is going to take us.
Yeah, so this is from Bob Bass, Dirty Dozen, right? Higgins' first black belt, and he wants to know, where would you be now if you didn't have jiu-jitsu? Fits well with this conversation.
Man, I
you still getting your ass kicked at birthday parties?
I'd probably be 250 pounds. I would be stuck in a cardio kickboxing class with like 30 women.
Wait, for 20 years you will be stuck in a women's only kickboxing class? That might not be a bad thing, wouldn't it? You loved it, didn't you?
No, I was okay, hold on. I liked the class itself, but it was embarrassing to go to it. So it was one of those things like, I liked it. I was getting a good workout. I was hitting the bag and all that. But it was embarrassing to go with when all those guys were just finishing up and they're watching you come in with all the ladies. Like, that was embarrassing to me. So maybe it's like closed doors, like separate facility, like one of these places that only does kickboxing, then it wouldn't be that bad. But where would I be? I don't know. I would definitely have a much more sedentary lifestyle. I definitely probably would not be in shape. I would be unhealthy. I don't know if I would be one of those dads who can be active with their kids, which I enjoy doing and I can do right now. And I'm not sure, honestly, how active I would even force my kids to be, because right now I use that as, I force my kid, well, when they were little, I forced them to do activities because I was active, because I was doing jiu-jitsu. I forced them to try other sports so that they can be active. And if had I not found jiu-jitsu and I was very sedentary, I don't know if I would have done that for them. So, I don't think not only would my life be different, I think theirs would be different as well.
It's interesting how one singular decision can really change the direction that our entire life goes, and then domino effect impacts everybody around us, right? Gary and I, we talked about this a few times on the show, but like, I don't know many people outside of jiu-jitsu realm or jiu-jitsu community. Like, most of my friends, most of people I engage with are part of the jiu-jitsu community. If you take that away, I would be completely in a different place. Like, I would be a completely different person. My entire life would look very, very different than what it does. Better, worse, I don't know. But definitely would not be what it is today. I would not be the same way. And I think a lot of people can relate to that simple statement. What do you think?
I agree. I probably would have got an MBA or something like that, something useful instead of the black belt.
You'd be smarter, huh?
Jeez, think of all that money you'd be making.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely would be different. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. As we're wrapping this up, if anybody wants to connect with you, where can they find you? Are you on social media? Where are you at? Come on, drop it now.
I'm on
drop
Instagram.
The names, drop the links.
What is this? It's
Figgy
at
Pops.
Fig_E_Pops_BJJ. I think that's it.
He couldn't make them. He couldn't make that easier. I mean, this is the easiest.
Fig_E_Pops_BJJ.
Does the Pops just come from you being a dad, or is there deeper?
No, it's a nickname I got. It's a nickname I got back in high school. One of the guys.
Wait,
Figueroa.
what? Really?
Figueroa is it was a tough name to say. So guys just shorten it, and it became from Fig. From Figueroa went to Fig. So I was just Fig, and then the Fig to Figgy, and then eventually I think one day some guy just added Pops at the end, and it sounded cool and it stuck. So it's in Figgy Pops, but it's FIGGYPOPS. But then when I went to Instagram to get that, it was gone. So I had to improvise, and I did the Fig_E_Pops at BJJ.com.
I didn't know that. I thought purely that was because you're dad, because you are a dad.
No,
Figgy
that's a high
Pops,
school.
huh?
I got that my probably like sophomore year in high school.
Oh,
Yeah,
you gotta
like
bring that
90
back.
what
Figgy Pops.
3. Yeah,
Pops. I
that's
like
been
that.
with me for a
I
while.
like that. All right. Well, we gotta embrace it. That's part of who you are. I like it. Figgy Pops it is.
The kids have kind of like stole it a little bit. Like my daughter's now like Figgy Fee or something like that. Like they kind of just throw that fig in there. So I play with it.
Continue on. All right. Well, listen. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your story. It is inspiring to see somebody going through all the changes and continue teaching and continue training and then continue teaching, now teaching others and really embracing their lifestyle. And I do hope that many who listen to this take this as a good example of what we can achieve in our lives if we allow ourselves to be open-minded and take some risks in life. And, we could really end up in a very different spot. Right, Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. I did something similar quite a few years back. And it's so far it's worked out pretty great. And I'll give you that compliment that I gave you when you thought I was drinking is a breath of fresh air here at the Academy. You said earlier, I think you said earlier that, it takes a team and we got a great addition to it. So it's awesome. It's really great. And things are going to keep getting better. So thanks.
I love it. Let's wrap it up for today. Thanks for being here, Edgar. Thanks for sharing your story. And
thank you.
Yeah, you have a class to teach in soon. So
yeah, 12 minutes. The door's open. See you
later.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.